I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all wanna ring, yeah, we all wanna be free. So show me what you got, what you bring, how you fight in the ring, how you take a fucking swing. Do you got heart, are you mean? Got some scars, got some needs, are you willing to go bleed? I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
One by one, billion by billion, been holding up half the sky. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gene. You guys are watching Lubed for March the 24th, 2024. Was it luck or were they absolutely schooled last night by the Toronto Maple Leafs? To be honest with you guys, I'm still thinking about this. I don't know what it was. I mean, I didn't really see a lack of effort. But there was one stat that really stood out, and we're going to discuss that a lot in this episode when we get into more details of this game between the Maple Leafs. Everything was going good for the Maple Leafs, nothing going good for the Oilers, and I really don't think the Oilers played a horrible game. I just think I think there was some puck luck on the Maple Leafs part for sure, because they were getting like the chances that they were getting, they were all going in. So yeah, but at the same time, there was some flaws in the game, and we're going to get into that very shortly when we talk about the Oilers and Leafs. Block more shots. Well, I guess that's kind of a bit of a hint of the one stat that I want to talk about a little bit more. So we're going to talk about that. Also, a brand new poll. And the poll that I'm going to ask you guys today is in relationship to the playoffs and what are the intangibles that you think are required going into the playoffs? What is the most important intangibles? And then, of course, we're going to talk about the Oilers and Sens, which is literally up in 56 minutes from now. I actually woke up. I started working on this episode and all that. I was planning to do this episode for 4 o'clock today. And then I'm like, oh, the Oilers play at 3 o'clock. Okay, I have to change the time of this episode or I'm going to miss that game. I didn't even think the Oilers were playing today. So it's good that I happened to kind of peek in it of what the next game was. I'm like, oh, they play today. Okay. And then they play again on Tuesday. So you'll see me tomorrow again at my regular time of about 6 p.m. as we will discuss the game between the Sens and then preview the Winnipeg Jets game, which is going to be a tough one because Hellebuck absolutely got slammed yesterday against the Capitals. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be a little bit mad and a little bit furious and playing his A game. And then, of course, final comments. If you guys have anything to say or chime in about, I will definitely make it an effort to try to answer your questions. All right, let's get into this. Let's start off with the Oilers and Leafs game that took place yesterday. Again, I don't really think the Oilers played a horrible game, but there is one stat, and like I said, when we go through this and we go through the game outline, we'll discover that one stat that really stood out like a sore thumb. So yeah, let's get into this. All right, so obviously the Maple Leafs totally shellacked us 6-3. There was, I think, at one point it was 5-0 for the Leafs. Like they crushed us, they killed us. It was one of those games where you're like, really? Like you just don't even feel like watching it. But because I do this channel, I have to ride it through and watch it all, no matter what, if they're winning or losing. But this one intangible that this one stat that they had was really, really egregious when it comes to the margins. They have to, if they want to win a cup this year, they have to really bar down and fix some of these stats that they have. So anyway, let's get into this. As the very first goal of the game was the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now you're going to hear me say Toronto a lot because realistically, they really stood out. In the first period, Bobby McCann getting his 12th from John Tavares and Timothy Lindgren. 1-0 Toronto in the first period. Toronto would add to that in the first period at the 8:14 mark when William Nylander would get a power play goal, his 39th of the year, from Timothy Lindgren. 2-0 Toronto. We now go to the second period where Toronto keeps scoring. Pontus Holmberg getting his 5th of the year from Max Domi and Austin Matthews. 3-0 Toronto. Let's add another Toronto goal to it. As Pontus Hemberg would get his sixth. So second of the night from Bobby McCann and Morgan Riley, 4-0. Toronto. This is getting kind of very tiresome. And again, in the second period, Bobby McCann would get his 13th from William Nylander and John Tavares, 5-0. Toronto. Finally, in the third period, Zach Hyman would get his 49th on the power play from Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard, 5-1 Toronto. Unfortunately, Zach, that was his only goal, because at least if he would have got his 50th in Toronto, at least that would have been something to talk about with a little bit of joy. But it didn't happen. He's still at 49. The Oilers would score again in the third period, and I think that's the Oilers' motto. They don't play until the third period, and they got to learn to play the first and second period, because it's always the third period when they wake up. But only they were too far back in this game to catch up. Corey Perry getting his 10th on the power play from Evander Kane and Connor McDavid, 5-2 Toronto. Then we go a little bit later at the 16:21 mark, where Leon Draisaitl gets his 36th, assisted by Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard. Connor McDavid, by the way, was in on every goal. He assisted in on every goal. So that's one guy that you never have to worry about. He's always there. Evan Bouchard, his 54th, 5-3 Toronto. Then Toronto would make it 6-3 at the 1947 mark of the third period. And this would cap the game as the final, 6-3, as he would get an empty netter, unassisted. And that's your final, 6-3. So the Oilers, again, watching that game, the effort was there. I think maybe they were trying too hard, though. They were just too tight on the sticks. So they're going into Ottawa this afternoon. Ottawa's a little bit pissed off too, because they've had a bad season, but they better play much better against Ottawa. I would imagine Picard is going to be in net, since Skinner was in the net last night. But then they got Winnipeg coming up. I mean, Winnipeg, with what Hellebuck did against Washington and getting pulled, he's going to be coming out. And I imagine if he is playing in net for that game, he's going to be coming out with a vengeance. Anyway, let's take a look at the stats of this particular game. As shots on goal, 39-29 for the Edmonton Oilers. So the Oilers were still out shooting Toronto. Okay, that's not an issue. And that's why I say, like, when I looked at these stats, you know, even the hitting, they out-hit them by a slight margin, 33-31, but still, the Oilers out-hit their opponent 33-31, and usually this is one of the stats that hinders them a little bit. Face-off win percentage, 52.6% for the Edmonton Oilers, so they led in that department. The power play wasn't that bad. I mean, 2 for 5, 40%. If you're getting 2 for 5, if you're in the 40% range, you're doing okay. You know, as soon as you get to 40% and higher, you're doing okay. So I'm okay with that. Penalty kill was a little bit bad yesterday, considering this was been their one stat that they seem to really excel at. But yesterday, they let in 2 goals on 3 power plays for Toronto. Not very good, as the Oilers' penalty kill was, they allowed 1 goal on 3 shots, I should say. So not bad, but not great. We go into block shots. Now this, guys, this is the stat I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. This margin is ridiculous. This is a 3-to-1 ratio, almost a 3-to-1 ratio. 28-11 for block shots for the Leafs. And we're going to get into a good conversation on this one in our next segment here. 28-11. That's unacceptable at this point in time in the season, considering they are literally, I think it's 28 games now or 28 days. No, 28 days, not games, 28 days till the opening night of the Stanley Cup playoffs. This needs to be adjusted, fixed immediately, because this can happen. And we can't expect certain players, as I said, I'm going to get into a segment on that. Can't expect the same guys to be the ones doing it. We got to get more out of certain players. And I'm going to talk about those guys right away. So, yeah, we got absolutely slaughtered when it comes to block shots. That's the one stat that really stood out. Takeaways, 7-5 for the Leafs. Giveaways, 11-9 for the Leafs. And then when I go to my star, I had to put Vinny in there. I had to, even though he didn't contribute point-wise. He had 5 blocked shots, contributing to 44% of the total team in blocked shots. So he nearly, by himself, one man, nearly had half the blocked shots for the whole team. Not good at all. Like, more players need to step up. And I'm going to get into that segment pretty shortly. That was the one stat, though, that really stood out for me when I was doing this, getting prepped for this episode. I'm like, wow, the block shots is ridiculous. Second star, Zach Hyman, 1 goal, 2 hits. First star, Connor McDavid, because he had the 3 assists and 1 hit. He's always been a stud. And that's who I had to give it to. Up next, again, in literally, 45 minutes from now, is the Ottawa Senators at the Canadian Tire. And I spelt Canadian Tire wrong, so I apologize for that. Canadian Tire. Well, whatever. Typo. Whoops. And that's right away here at 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Mountain for you guys there in Edmonton. Should be a good one. I hope the Oilers feel a little fired up after last night's loss, and that would be actually quite impressive. All right, guys. So, because the block shot thing was such an issue with me, I thought I would make a segment on it. And I did. Okay, so I'm going to give you some numbers here. As you can see, I got a picture of Desharnais and Darnell Nurse, who have been absolute studs for us when it comes to blocking shots. In fact, Darnell Nurse leads the group with 154, followed by 101 for Desharnais. Cody Ceci is at 96. Bouchard, who I don't think should be blocking any shots, period, because we need him as our quarterback and as our power play D-man specialist from the point with the bomb and that. But he's been pretty good at that department, which is good, but you don't want to see him get hurt. Ekholm is 81. Brett Kulak, 69. Now, this is one guy I want to see improve on that. Because realistically, if you're thinking about role players for the Oilers and who contributes in certain areas, whether you're a face-off guy, whether you're a passer, whether you're a scorer, what is Brett Kulak's role? Okay. He's not necessarily I guess he is kind of a first pass guy. But I want to see more out of him. I want to see him heart and soul blocking shots. I remember one comment that I think it was Wayne Gretzky or Mark Messier after they beat the Islanders for the first time in the Stanley Cup, after they lost to the Islanders and then they won the Stanley Cup the next year. After they lost to the Islanders, they walked by their dressing room. And the one thing that really stood out is, yeah, they won the cup, but they were all banged up and bruised and licking their wounds and getting treatments done for bruises, for cuts, for lacerations, all sorts of stuff. When it comes to playoffs, that's why the Stanley Cup is such a great tournament to play in that Stanley Cup playoff. It is the tournament of tournaments. I mean, I don't care if you're a soccer fan. Like, I know soccer is on a worldwide stage. I know it's the most popular sport in the world. But I honestly think the most prized possession, and maybe I'm just biased, is the Stanley Cup. And I think the reason why I say that is what you have to do to obtain that cup. It's not a one game and eliminated kind of thing like football or even in soccer. And I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying that those guys aren't physical specimens. They are 100%. But I just think with what you have to do in the NHL to achieve that Stanley Cup, in my opinion, and it's my opinion, I'm allowed to my opinion, Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in all of pro sport. So, with that being said, I mean, we look at the all-time leaders list where Darnell Nurse is now the all-time leader for block shots for the Edmonton Oilers, followed by Chris Russell and then Ladislav Slede and Clefbaum. Those are guys that, they're willing to, if you're willing to take a puck and you don't know exactly where that puck's going to hit, it might hit you in the face. And it has, and some players have. Trent McCleary had it in the throat for the Montreal Canadiens on his Zdeno Chara years ago where he had to get an emergency tracheotomy. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of danger involved with it. But to me, that bravery, that willing to put it all on the line to get to the golden dream is what I like to see. And it's all about heart and soul. So I want to see a little bit more out of Kulich. I want to see a little bit more from Derek Ryan, maybe, when it comes to that department. A little bit more from Warren Fogle. These are guys that I think, yes, they do contribute a little bit offensively, but because it's usually McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman that are doing the offensive contributions, I would like to see those guys more in a defensive role playing thing and starting to block more. That's just my opinion on that. So for sure, chime in if you want. And if you don't happen to catch me on this episode, you can always chime in later and I'll try to message you guys back. But that's how I feel. I think there's certain players that need to definitely improve or definitely be assigned a role. And that's going to lead into my next question that I have for the poll question. As we're going to dive into more of the standings. But yeah, my poll question for today, you guys, is which of the following intangibles do you think is most important going into the playoffs? Courage, the willingness to sacrifice the body, aka blocked shots. Focus, great goaltending. Discipline, staying out of the box. Roles, every player understanding their job and executing it. What do you guys think? For me, I think it's a toss-up between goaltending, the focus part, and the courage, because you always seem to win Stanley Cups when you got good goaltending. But when you have the courage to block the shots, that's usually makes your goaltender look good too. So I think I would go with the courage. That's my opinion. What are your thoughts? Go ahead and vote. As you can see, the Edmonton Oilers still remain in second in the Pacific Division, 88 points. Los Angeles 4 points behind or 3 points behind. So they're still in the hunt. However, we have 2 games on hand with them. Vegas, 70 games played. They're sitting at 83. Looks like they're probably going to make it, but we'll see. And then we'll discuss this when we get into the playoff matchups a little bit later. But there has been a little bit of movement, and we'll get into that just a little bit later. All right. So I woke up this morning, started getting all my graphics ready to do this episode. And then I realized, holy cow, I got this episode scheduled for 4 p.m. Pacific, which is basically 2 hours from now, and realized the Oilers are going to be in the middle of a hockey game at that point in time. So I had to bump my thumbnail down by 2 hours. I didn't think they were playing today, and it's good that I checked because I would have totally missed this game. So excuse me on that. But yeah, they are playing the Sens today. Brady Tkachuk, and the rest of the boys are going to take on the Sens. Sens is kind of a funny story this year. They did a lot to improve their team. That being said, they're kind of not going to make the playoffs. They're on the outside looking in. And let's get into the Sens. Okay, so when it comes to the last time they played, Edmonton beat them in Edmonton, January 6, 2024, by a count of 3-1. So it was a bit of a closer game. Edmonton's record going into this game, 42, 22, and 4. The Ottawa Senators, 29, 36, and 4. To say the least, the Ottawa Senators will not make the playoffs. The away record for the Oilers, 19, 14, and 1. Home record for the Sens, 18, 16, and 2. In the last 10, the Oilers are 6, 2, and 2. The Sens, 4, 5, and 1. Oilers are on a one-game losing streak. The Sens are on a one-game winning streak. Calvin Pickard is going to start. I'd be very shocked if Stuart Skinner does start, but unless he got hurt or something like that, just for the fact that they played Toronto last night and Skins was in net for that game. His record, 10, 4, and 0, 221 goals against average, and a 920 save percentage with 1 shutout. I like Pickard. You know, when we sent down Jack Campbell and we brought up Pickard, and I talked to some friends, and I talked to Sammy actually, and he's like, "You got Pickard as your number one, or you're not your number one, but as your backup?" Like, he was kind of shocked. But he's been actually really good. Took him long enough to finally get himself to NHL caliber status, but he has been pretty good. Anton Forsberg on the other side with a record of 12, 12, and 0, 342 goals against average, an 885 save percentage, so not very good. 1 shutout. When it comes to the stats, is there anything that is close or comparable? Nope. If anything is kind of close, it would be the shots on goal, where Edmonton is second in the league, averaging 33.7. The Sens are ninth in the league, averaging 32.3. But yeah, if you look at all their numbers, they're 15th on goals. They're 9th on shots on goals. They're 26th on the power play. They're 13th on the faceoffs. 21st in the league on shootouts. Shooting percentage, sorry. 28th in the league for goals against. 16th in the league for shots on goal allowed. 26 for penalty minutes, so they're not very disciplined. And that's going to hurt them today, as I think the Oilers' power play is starting to warm up, and that I'm hoping is the case. And then the penalty kill, they're 30th in the league. So if they get into penalty trouble, I think the Oilers are going to decimate them. Oilers also have a pretty good penalty kill. They're 14th in the league. So we'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. Again, this game starts in 34 minutes, so I will be wrapping it up here pretty quickly here. And we'll see what happens here as we go forward. Let's go to final thoughts and see if you guys have any comments. No comments from you guys tonight. So I'll just close out this as the one thing that the Oilers need to do. They need to improve on block shots. Definitely. That was a brutal effort with block shots yesterday against Toronto. They do need to improve on hitting. They need to out-hit their opponent more often. That's one stat that I always seem to see them being on the lesser end. And giveaways and takeaways, I think they need to work on improving that. But we'll see. We will see how they play out. There is definitely the block shots going into the playoffs they got to fix that. They have got to fix that 100%. All right, guys, if you are witnessing this channel for the very first time and like the content I bring, I usually do this usually the day after a game. It all depends on how the schedule works out. Sometimes I'll do a double header and do the previews for 2 games or the reviews for 2 games. But anyway, it's something I enjoy. It's kind of a hobby for me. I don't make no money out doing this. So by no means this is something that I do for financial benefit. It's just a fun thing for me to do. I also have Sammy that me and him do NHL Aftermath, where we have conversations every few weeks regarding the state of the NHL, regarding hockey in general, regarding everything from what happened with Team Canada scandal to the death of that one hockey player a few months back in England. So we cover a lot of sensitive subjects, and we try to talk about that. So join us for that. I don't know when we're going to be doing another episode. We kind of just, when stories arise, we kind of do our episodes on that. We did try to go for it every 2-week format, but it just got to a point where the news was just too dry, and it was like, what's the point? So we're kind of going with a format of when the stories pop up, we try to come up with an episode. Other than that, guys, I am out of here. I am going to get ready for the Ottawa Senators game. The Oilers better have a better effort. Well, they did have a decent effort, but they better be blocking a little bit more shots tonight. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Enjoy the game. We will see you tomorrow night.